Hello, I'm Heather Flanagan, IDPro Principal Editor and cat herder for the Body of Knowledge. The very first set of articles for the Body of Knowledge were published at the end of March 2020, and it was definitely a character-building experience in getting to that milestone. We're a few weeks away from the next set of articles, and so I wanted to share a bit about what we learned from Issue 1 and what we're changing for Issue 2 as well as future issues. First, a quick introduction on IDPro and the Body of Knowledge itself. IDPro is a professional organization for identity and access management practitioners wherever they might be. IAM practitioners will be found anywhere there's an organization with an internet presence. Enterprise, commerce, healthcare, higher education, research, they all require people who design and manage identity systems. IAM practitioners often feel like they need to know and understand more about what they do to consider themselves proficient in their roles. And we could do a whole video on just that, but the annual survey IDPro puts together is a separate topic. In response to the need for a common set of learning materials for IAM practitioners, IDPro made a part of its mission to develop a body of knowledge and eventually a certification program designed around that material. So let's talk about Issue 1 of the Body of Knowledge. From an editor's perspective, a whole lot went well. For one thing, we've set up an open source publishing platform called Janeway. That platform makes it quite easy for the editor, which is me, and other administrators to see where articles are in the publication process. That's a huge help when coordinating all the steps we need to follow for a polished publication. The platform covers everything from submission to peer review to copy editing and finally to publication. It automatically handles things like support for people with dyslexia and allows for offline downloads as well as online viewing. One thing it isn't is a collaborative editing platform. For sort of the pre-work that authors do, that has to happen somewhere else. As a bonus, we've also created a GitHub repository where people can feel free to submit issues or suggestions or otherwise engage with these articles specifically to give us feedback for future revisions and future articles on these various topics. Of course, the first time you do something, it's rarely perfect from the get-go, so we have a lot of things that we want to start improving on for future issues. Let's start, for example, with the issue around clarity. So I was originally brought on board in February of 2019 to work with the Body of Knowledge Committee on developing the process and materials for putting together a body of knowledge. We found ourselves making a lot of compromises, especially after about 9 months or so, to try and speed up the process. On the one hand, we did get articles together and published, but on the other, the direction had to shift quite a bit to get there from where we started. We very much want this to be a basis for a certification program, but as it turns out, subject matter expertise in IAM does not make someone an expert in putting together a course in a certification program. These first articles will likely have to be revised in order to be really useful for any kind of certification. In line with the changes in direction and the lack of experience in developing teaching materials, there was the open question of whether we were asking authors to write in a casual blog-style format that's really easy to consume, or whether we were looking for more academic rigor. We ended up with something of a mixed bag in our first set of articles. Another area that we really want to improve on is the demographics of who was writing and who was reviewing. On the positive side, we covered 3 continents with authors and reviewers, but all authors identified as male. Most of the peer reviewers also identified as male. Basically, we have a diversity problem here that needs to be addressed. Those people who did participate as authors or reviewers found participating a little challenging. Everyone involved, except me, are volunteers. This is not their day job. We had volunteers trying to solicit more volunteers, and we had several stages of review that required even more volunteer time. The lack of clarity on direction did not help, as people were not always clear on what they were trying to write or what rigor they were trying to measure during a review. All of this on top of staring at that blank page and wondering what to say, bootstrapping is really hard. So I, along with the rest of the Body of Knowledge Committee, definitely heard the feedback. So we're making some changes for issue 2. I'm a big fan of incremental changes, so this is really just the first iteration. As we learn more, we'll continue to adapt future material. For this second batch of articles, which we expect to publish in mid-June, we're cutting back on some of the review steps. So instead of 5 stages of review, there will be 4, which does include the copy editing step. Copy editing will actually start earlier in the process to help keep reviewers focused on the substantive content of the article and not the grammar. It's an ongoing source of amazement to me how the little nits of comma decisions will completely throw off a reviewer as they focus on that and not the subject matter expertise that's required for the review. We're also working to be quite a bit more clear in our own minds how the articles need to fit in a certification program. I'm working on developing some initial IAM profiles to help focus materials in those sectors where IAM might be substantially different due to different drivers. Think of how enterprise IAM might be just a tad bit different from higher education IAM. Sure, there's overlaps, but there will be material that's quite specific to different sectors. We're also trying to be a bit more active in bringing in a diverse set of authors and reviewers. You, yes you, might see an email or direct message from me on LinkedIn or Twitter as I reach out to people to invite them to join in the fun. And that's where we are. If you have any additional questions or suggestions or other feedback, or you just want to chat about the concept and brainstorm, please feel free to drop me a note at editor@idpro.org, or if you're a member of IDPro, drop me a note on the Slack channel, and I'd be happy to engage anytime. Take care. I hope you enjoy issue 2, which will come out real soon now, and I hope you'll think about being an author or reviewer for future issues. Ciao, everybody.